Hi everyone, welcome to Red Fox Sewing and Crafting, and welcome to my craft room. I'm Joanna. So today we are going to be continuing the Jumbo album that we started a few weeks ago. We are going to start with the base pages. So you will need 4 pieces that are 10 by 10 and 4 pieces that are 10 and a half by 10 and a half. And if I look at my notes, we're going to be scoring the 10 and a half by 10 and a half inch pages. Cardstock that you cut. So I'm going to be scoring at 1/2 inch on one side, and then I think here so you want the 1/2 inch that you just scored at the top, and then you're going to score again in 1/2 inch, so then it'll make an L shape. So we're going to do that to all 4 pieces. 1/2 inch, turn once so that your 1/2 inch is at the top, and then score it again. Half inch, turn, 1/2 inch, and then our last piece. 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch. So now we're just going to burnish all of our score marks here, being as careful as you can to get everything straight. So I'm just going to show you on one here. Going to grab your scissors, and then we're going to miter this corner and this corner, and then we're going to cut out the square in the bottom corner. I like to miter the square part too, so then it's going to look like this. And then I'm going to put some score tape on my 2 tabs. And then we need one of the 10 by 10s. And I'm going to start with the bottom. So when you fold them up, it's going to be like this. So there's going to be an opening on this side and on the top. So you want the bottom of the L. Add a little bit of glue. And then what I like to do is fold my tabs together and then pick everything up and line it up with the bottom. And you might have a little bit of trouble because it's big, but just go slow and take your time. And then, once you're happy with it, you can open this up and burnish it really good. And I am going to take some Scotch tape here and just cover the bottom just like that. And then I'm going to glue the sides together. Just like so. So that's how all 4 pages are going to be put together. I'm just going to do one today since we're going to do pages 1 and 2. I'll do the other 3 later off camera. So you are going to need to grab your album cover and I'm going to start with I'm going to put this one in the front. You can start in the back if you want. I am going to put 2 pieces of 1/4" score tape on either side of my hinge here. And this is just going to help me know where my page is going to go on my hinge, because I don't want it going all the way to the base of the hinge. And if you don't have score tape, you can always take a pencil and a ruler and mark about 1/4 inch from the base of your hinge to help you find where to put your page if you want a guide line there. And then I'm going to take the backing off of all of my score tape and then add a little bit of glue on top of my score tape. And then you want to make sure that your opening is on the right, no, the left and the top, just like this. And then you're going to carefully line this up with your mark, or if you're not using your mark or anything, just kind of eyeball as best you can where you want it to be. You just don't want it to be at the very base. You want to have a little bit of extra wiggle room. And then once you're happy with it, you can just kind of stick it down. And there. You have the page with a top opening pocket. So we're going to start with page 1. Let me put this aside for now. And for the base of page 1, we're going to need a 10 by 9.5, a 7.5 by 11, a 7 1/8 by 9, and 2 5 by 7.5. So we're going to get our scoreboards out, and starting with the 9.5 by 10 with the 9.5 at the top, we are going to score at half and at 3/4. The 7.5 by 11, you want to score at on 3 sides. So half and 10.5 with the 11 at the top, and then with the 7.5 at the top, you're gonna want to score at half. The 8 or the 7 1/8 by 9 with the 7 1/8 at the top, score at half and 5/8. And then the 2 5 by 7.5 with the 7.5 at the top, gonna score at half. So just fold and burnish on all your pieces. And with your 7/8 by 9, you're gonna want to be careful and make sure that you fold so that you get the full 1/8 inch gusset. So just take your time with folding this one so that you get it. And if you have a measuring tool that'll help, then that might be a good thing to use, because then you can put it either in the 1/8 inch spacing or on the 1/2 inch, and then you could just fold it really easily. I just kind of slowly fold it, starting from the center and going outward, and just watching how it's folding. And with the pocket, I like to check before I fold the sides to see if it'll fit. And it will. And then the 9.5 by 10. And again, you're going to want to be careful with the 1/4 inch gusset. Just to make sure you don't fold it weird. You want to keep that gusset in here. And then we're going to miter on everything. So on the 9.5 by 10 and the 7 1/8 by 9, you're going to only want to cut miter on the 1/2 inch tab, not the gusset part. I want to keep that gusset. And then the 5 by 7.5. And the 10.5 by 11 inch pocket. Again, you're gonna miter the top 2 corners, and then you're gonna cut out the bottom 2 squares. And sometimes it's hard to see where you're cutting, so I just kind of bend it to see where my my score marks are, so I don't cut over them. So I'm going to start with, let me just make sure really quick. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to start with the pocket. And I'm going to put some score tape on all my sides really quick. Okay. So, I'm going to put the bottom of the pocket at So we're going to put the base of our pocket at the edge of our page where it meets the hinge. And you want to do your best to center this on your page. So, sorry if I'm getting in the way, but I just want to make sure that it's lined up right on the edge of my page here. So I'm just going to burnish this really good and add some tape right here, and then I can put my sides down. And you might have to kind of push down on your hinges to help stick your pocket down, but it should be okay. Now you want to grab your two 5.5 by 7s. And these are getting centered. Oh, 5 by 7.5. Oops. So, should be 3/4. Nope. Trying. So it's going to be a little bit more than 7/8 of an inch. Oh, it should be an inch. It should be an inch. If I can do the math in my head correctly. So you want an inch on either side. I'm just gonna put my ruler one side of my pocket And then I could just lay this down, just like so. And then add my second one. And the second one kind of want to line up with the first one. So just do your best to line them up. So the next piece is going to be the 7 7/8 by 9 inch piece. And that is going to go right on top of the pocket base. And that should be 1/2 inch on either side, top and bottom. So again, I'm going to put some score tape on here. And then add a little bit of glue. And I'm going to line this up. With the bottom of my pocket right on the hinge side, and you want to make sure that you are just sticking down the 1/2 inch tab and not the 1/4 or the 1/8 inch gusset. You want to keep that 1/8 inch gusset. And last piece is the 9.5 by 10. And that is going to go on this side. And this one isn't going to get centered. It just goes right at the edge here. Just make sure that you are gluing down just the 1/2 inch tab and not the 1/4 inch gusset. Again, you want to keep the 1/4 inch gusset. So for this next step, you are going to need to put some pattern paper on. I put pattern paper on my 2 front flaps. And then you are going to need to find a piece of ephemera to use that you want. I got this piece of chipboard ephemera, and it already has a hole in it. That's what I'm going to use. And we're going to make a little swing tab. So, and make sure you just put it on the front of your flap. You don't want anything on the back of your flap. So, if you want it like a little higher or a little lower, you can, but I want to get it centered as much as possible, so I'm going to just take a ruler here and line it up as best I can in the center. And I'm just gonna hold this here, and then I can put my punching tool in and see if that works. And if it does, then once you're happy with it, you could just carefully punch through. And you might want to flip this around like this, so that you don't accidentally punch through the rest of your page. And once you have punched your hole, you can find a nice brad. I'm gonna do these brass ones. And we're just going to put the brad through the hole in your ephemera piece, and then through the hole that you punched in your flap here. And then we can open the legs of the brad. And I'm going to take some score tape here. And since my score tape isn't that big, I'm going to add a couple pieces to the side here. And that is just to keep the tines, the legs of the brad from poking through your pattern paper. And then it'll close like that. Now we can move on to the page 1 insert. For that, you will need a piece that is 3.5 by 8, a 6 by 8, 2 6 by 8 3/8, and 1 6 1/8 by 8. Starting with the 3.5 by 8, with the 3.5 at the top, score at half and at 3/4. With the 6 1/8, 6 3/8 by 8, with the 6 3/8 at the top, score at half and then with the 2 6 by 8 3/8, with the 8 3/8 at the top, I'm going to score at half. And then the 6 by 8, you're not doing anything to that. And then, like we did with the other pieces, we're just going to fold and burnish on our score marks, and then miter. And we're just mitering on the 1/2 inch tab on the 3.5 by 8 inch piece. So I'm going to do all that, and then I will come back to show you how to put it together. So now that all the pieces are mitered and burnished, it's time to put it together. I put my score tape on the inside of my flap, because we are going to put everything on the back of our 6x8" piece. Starting with the 6 by 8 3/8" piece. We are going to put this on the bottom. Now I find it easier to actually put the piece inside like this, and then you can just fold it over like so, so that you get a nice it'll be flush with your base piece, and it won't go over your score mark either. And this is going to be slightly smaller, which is what you want, because once everything gets folded, you don't want anything to hinder the folding. So now I'm going to open this up, and then we're going to add the 2 side pieces. We're going to do the same thing. This time though, I'm going to try to center this as best I can. Like that. And then the second side. And now we can add the top. And the top, you just want to make sure to put the 1/2 inch on the back and leave the 1/4 inch gusset out. So then when you close it all up, sides, then top, or bottom, and then top. So it'll go like this. And to close it, I'm going to use 2 magnets here. And I'm going to add a little bit of score tape. So then, when you put this in your page, it will go in this pocket here, and just slide right in just like that, and then the magnet will hold it in just like that. Slide it over here, so in like that, and then close it, and then just close this, and that is page 1 done. So second page, you are going to need some ribbon and some pattern paper for this too. So you'll need 5 1-inch by 6-inch. Yeah. 5 6 by 6 and 4 7 by 7 and 5/8. So we're going to score really quick. 7 by 7 5/8 is going to be all the same. Going to score with the 7 and 5/8 at the top at half, oops, and 5/8. Going to do that to all 4 pieces. And then with the 1 by 6-inch pieces, these are all going to be the same. With the 1 inch at the top, you're going to just score in the middle at half. And then again, we're going to fold and burnish and miter. With your 1 by 6-inch pieces, you're going to fold them in half like this, and then you are going to miter them. Miter these really quick, and then it'll look like this. So I'm going to do that to all my pieces, and then we will put it all together. Now that everything is prepped, we're going to start with the 6 by 6s and the 1 by 6s. So I'm going to start with one 6 by 6, and then we're going to take one of the 1 by 6s, and we're going to attach it to one of the sides. Just like this. I'm going to remove the other backing. And I'm going to add a second piece, second 6 by 6. And you want to make sure that the scored part is on the edge of the 6x6s. We're going to make an accordion fold. So then you have this here. You want to flip it around and then add the next hinge on the bottom, on the opposite side of the first hinge. Just like this. And then we can add our next 6x6 to the other side of the hinge. Just like so. And then we're going to flip it around again. Put our next hinge on the opposite of the second hinge. Opposite side, second hinge. And then add our next 6x6. Flip it to the opposite side. Add our next hinge. And then our last 6x6. Now, you have a choice when you get to this point. You can either add a 5th hinge to the bottom of this one, or you can glue this to your page. I think this time I'm going to glue this to the page just so that you can see a different way of doing this. So I have some ribbon here, and I'm going to make sure really quick that this is long enough without me cutting it in half. It is. Okay. So I'm just going to add a few pieces of score tape to the back here. And then you want to cover, or no. So we have this done. Now it's time to work on the flaps. So we're going to start at the bottom right corner here. And we have one of our flaps. And you want to measure 1 inch. You want to measure 1 inch from the bottom And then line this up with the edge of the page, making sure that you are just sticking down the 1/2 inch tab. And then you want to, the next one, the bottom, 1 inch away from the left edge. Next piece is going one inch away from the top edge. And then the last piece is going to go on at the top, 1 inch away from the right edge. Just like that. So put it in whatever order you want it. And then we are going to add magnets on this. I'm going to need 3. So first magnet I'm going to put on the underside of my top flap. Second one is going to go on the second page, or the third page, so flap. So it's top flap, second flap, then the magnet goes on the third flap. So your last magnet is going to go on the bottom flap like this. So once you put everything down, it'll lock in place and it'll stay together. Now we are going to cover the base page because we need to put this in the center. So I'm going to do that really quick and then we can put our accordion on the page. Okay, so now it's time to put this on. Really easy. You just want 2 inches of spacing all around because you want this to be in the center. if you're putting the hinge on the base page, or if you're doing putting the whole back on, you want to make sure that the top page goes up when it opens. So I'm just kind of centering this as best as I can on my page. And once I'm happy with it, I'm just going to stick it right down, just like that. And now I have my ribbon closure on it, and when I close all of my pages, it'll be hidden. And that is pages 1 and 2 done. I hope you are enjoying making this along with me, and I will see you next week. Bye!